All right, so for our latest project, we're going to be taking a look at this JVC Compact Stereo. This is model MX-G70. And I got this from a friend of mine. He gave me a call from an estate sale about a week or so ago and said, hey, everything here is 75% off. Let me send you some pictures, see if there's anything you might be interested in. Sent me a couple of pictures, one of a 25-inch Zenith System 3 colored television. I had to take a hard pass on that one. And then we got to this, and I said, how much are they asking? He said, $10, but 75% off of that. So I had him go ahead and pick this up. I have absolutely no interest in fixing this stereo, and don't even know anybody that would want it if I did. But I do have some interest in the optical pickup assembly in this CD changer. So in this video, we're going to be doing something we rarely do here, and that's not fixing it. We're going to be tearing it apart, breaking it down, and extracting whatever useful parts in the stereo I might want to keep. So one thing for sure we want to do is see if we can get the CD player up and going and get it functional. So that's kind of what the idea is in this video. We'll also tear these speakers down. I believe they have like side firing subwoofers in them. We'll break all that stuff down. Those might come in handy for some project at some point. So as always, we'll come in, we'll have a quick look at it, and then we'll get started on tearing it apart. As for our intro music this time, we're going to go back to 1990. Checking out the Dirty Weapons album by Killer Dwarfs. And it's a band I've kept an eye on even back in the 80s. They have some really catchy songs, and one of my favorites from this record is called Nothing Gets Nothing. So let's check out a little bit of this, and then we'll get started on the JVC. All right, let's take a quick look at this thing. We'll start over here. It's not in particularly great shape. It's been abused a little bit. The speaker grill is broken. The dust cap on the mid driver here is pushed in. Three-way speakers, you get this one, plus the sub coming out of the side here, and then a tweeter that looks like it's pretty well intact. The main unit, we have missing knobs and a broken shaft for the volume control. It does still rotate, but the shaft is broken off. So even if you wanted to fix this, you'd have to get your hands on a volume control for it. Pretty typical of this type of stereo from back in the day. And even though I did JVC warranty work at my shop, I didn't see a whole bunch of these. I've seen a few. I've mostly seen the Sony ones and cheaper RCA type stereos. But I did see a few of these. But it does escape me as to what optical pickup they used in this. The tape decks, I believe, we either have a tape, probably got a tape jammed in that one because it's not opening. Of course, once the belts go bad and the cam gear can't rotate over and release the heads, then the tape will stay locked up in it. So you get a few functions here, auxiliary, AM, or FM, I guess, whichever one you maybe push this twice to get FM, the CD, and then the tapes, and then the stop button here, and a few other controls, clock, timer. I guess you can set this up to have it turn off after you go to sleep. Repeat, program, random, tape A, tape B, reverse mode, and record, start, stop, CD, record, start, edit, and dubbing. So I assume it will dub from the CD down to the cassette deck. I guess that's what that is. Other than that, I got some tuning controls here, presets with these fancy indentation type knobs on it. I guess this one is for maybe the sound select. A few buttons over here, all for the CDs, and eject the CDs. And then cancel and demo function. Other speaker just like the first one we looked at. We'll flip it around, we'll take a look at the connections in the back. As for the speakers, these are the type that have separate lines for the sub over here. And they are saying, what are they saying for power here? Main speaker 55 watts, the sub is 110. I don't know about that. It's probably got STK packs in it, if I had to guess. So let's move this and this. And let's flip this thing around. It's a little dirty to go along with a few things being broken. So on the back here, all you're going to get is some antenna connections and the auxiliary input. But it does have a optical output on it. I'm not sure why, but it does have one. Separate speaker connections for those subs and the main speakers. And then of course a big heat sink right here in the middle for what's probably 2 STK packs, but it could be discrete. We'll find out all that out when we get it opened up. So I think the first thing we should do, let's get rid of the speakers for now, and let's get the top off of it, or I'll get the top off of it. I'll bring you back and we'll take a look at that CD and see if there's any way we can find out if that's working. Once I can confirm the CD player works, and it probably does, we might have to do something to it. We might have to change a belt or two. Then we'll know there's nothing wrong with that optical pickup. So let me go ahead, I'll get the lid off and I'll bring you back and we'll start taking a look at the inside of it. All right, getting you back in here, got the top cover off. And we can kind of get a look at this. Finding some CDs in it. Don't know if it's anything I would listen to. Looks like Malik's Fisherman Band. Can't say as I've heard of them. There's also one here as well, right in the top tray. So definitely that. Let's see here. And as predicted in the amplifier section, SDKs all the way around. One for the main, one for the subs. They did put a fan in this to keep it cool in case you're jamming the thing up. All 3 fuses look to be okay. So I'm hoping there's no belts in this CD changer deal that we have to worry about changing. Now this radio on this, as long as there's nothing wrong with the amplifier, the radio on this will probably work. But let's go ahead and plug it in here. Let's see what happens. Find it in demo mode. Let's turn it on. I hear the cassette clicking. It starts on the radio. There's a CD. Let's see what this does. The CD is working, which is a good thing. Let's see if we can eject. Let's see. We have Classic Country Disc 2. Not probably anything I would want to include in my library. But not to say it's bad, it's just not my thing. Let's see. And of course, the companion Classic Country Disc 1 to go with Disc 2. And then let's eject out Disc 3. Maybe we'll have to stop it before we do that. What disc is in there? Disc 2? Oh, yeah. Disc 2 is what was in there. Let's see. Okay. And then we have Malik's Fisherman Band fired up for a polka. Again, nothing I would include in my library. Let's see if we can get a look at that optical pickup. First, I got to learn how to operate the thing. Let's see. I'm surprised that there isn't a belt that's bad or something that's bad in this. Let's see here. I can't quite make out what it is, but just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and hook up those speakers. Can't get to the tape from this side, but we might be able to rotate over the gear by hand here. Let's see. I'll stick my hand down in there. No, I can't get my fingers down in there, but we will get that out soon enough. But for now, let's go ahead, let's get these speakers involved and let's fire it up and test it with some proper music and see what this thing will do. So give me a second for that. I'll get these speakers back up here and we'll get those hooked up. All right, as I get you back in here, I got the speakers hooked up, and as predicted, we do got some sound here, and it's really not that bad. It's pretty impressive for the size of the speakers. Put in our newest bench test CD, Rock 1972, Original Hits, Summer Breeze. Alice Cooper up first here. Got the subwoofer bumped up as loud as it'll go. You got a few equalizer presets here. Pop, classic, manual 1, 2, and 3. I guess you can set your own if you want, or just turn the EQ altogether off. All right. Let's go to the last track of this. Why did it do that? Oh, I guess if you go past track 12, then it starts on the next disc. Let's go back to where we were at here. Let it feed in the disc. There you go. I think it's track 11. There it is right here. Listen to that bass kicking. Looks like you get about 30 on the volume control before she says, that's enough. That's as far as I can go for you. But for what it is pretty loud actually. And I don't know, I would imagine that when this was new, this was probably not cheap. Probably at least a couple $100, maybe $250. I wonder if all these flashing lights on the front of these stereos from back in this time is why they now have that warning on television that says flashing lights may cause seizures. Maybe there was so many of these stereos that were sold that it caused people to have seizures from all the lights on the front. Kind of a makeshift spectrum analyzer there. Well, you know, it's definitely not something, it goes kind of against what I normally do, is to take something that is working and tear it apart, but that's what we're going to do with this. There's no need to hold on to this. So let's go ahead. I'll get these, maybe we'll start with the speakers. I'll find some tools and we'll see if we can get into these speakers. It looks like there's some screws here. Let's see if we can get the tweeters out. I could use those for something. This speaker does work. The dust cap is pushed in on it pretty far, but it does work. So yeah, we'll start there. Let's break down the speaker first, and then we'll move on over to the stereo. So give me a second. Let me locate some tools, and we'll see how much of this we can get apart. Hopefully it's probably screwed together and glued together. So we might be getting a hammer involved. Yet another tool we don't use here. So let me go ahead and get some tools going, but let's let it enjoy one last run before it gets decommissioned. All right, good enough? I'll pick back up with you. Let me dig up some tools to get these speakers apart. All right, let's get you in here and show you what I got accomplished. Got the speakers out. Nothing too special. 6 ohms is the system here. This being the full range or mid driver. This is going to be your bass speaker. Pretty heavy. All the cones on these are in pretty good shape. Tweeter is very tiny. Again, 6 ohms. Your crossover consists of one 3.3 bipolar bass blocking cap for the tweeter. The box is partitioned off. The sub part around the side here is separated from the front piece. There is a porthole through the top here. Well, that's pretty much it. Just for the hell of it, went ahead and tried to pop out the center of this one. Still looks a little wonky. The speaker does work though. I'm going to go ahead and pull them all out and just throw them in a box. Might come in handy at some point. Various size screws, some for just aesthetics, and then some for obviously mounting it all together. So let me go ahead, I'm gonna finish this one up, break these boxes down so I can throw them in my garbage can, and then we'll move on to this. All right, I say first thing we do, let's just go ahead and start here. We'll take the back of it off. That'll be a lot of it. I'll help us get to a lot of it. We'll tray up all the gold screws in case we need those for a later project. Let's see. One on the very bottom here. That should be enough to get it off, I would think. Well, maybe the other one under here is a good idea. All right. Well, I don't see anything else. I'm not sure. Oh, I bet you this is what we got to get off first. Which doesn't want to come off. There we go. Now we got some here around this heatsink. I'm gonna get it back in the shot here. That seems a little better. I got a junk box over here I've been pitching everything into. Let's see, what about this sideboard next? Should just unplug, maybe. There's the tuner. Might not be a bad idea to hold on to the flex cables, you never know. This cable we won't need, so let's get a pair of pliers or a pair of cutters and we'll cut it off. Since we're not saving anything. We got a little tuner board here. Looks like it's loaded up with op amps there. BA15218. I don't know if that's what that is, but I think that's what it is. Probably not a bad idea to hang on to that. Next, the tuner. I mean, let's see. There's a couple of ICs that could be handy. Could come in handy, so we'll leave that alone for now. This is the speaker board. It's got a couple of relays in it. Let's see who's texting. Okay. Probably hang on to that in case we need a relay off of it. And let's see what's going on here. Yeah, let's see here. Looks like, from what I can see, hold on a second here. Let me see if I can get you in here. There's your two STKs. STK 412-000 and a 402-050. So probably not a bad idea to hang on to that. It's probably not a bad idea. Let's take this board off. It looks like there's a couple of regulators here, transistors. Let's see. 7808, 7809, 7812, and a 2395. So definitely something to hang on to. As for these, see if we can pop those off there. without damaging the chip. There we go. And there is quite a few resistors and transistors there. If I have a situation where I have a particular unit that needs a resistor and I can get an actual OEM that matches all the rest that's in the unit, I'll just use one off this board instead of just pulling out a replacement. So we'll try to keep the STKs from getting damaged. So yeah, we'll hang on to that. Now, let me answer my text. That seems to be an emergency. And we'll pick back up and we'll take out the rest of it. All right, carrying on here. Went ahead and unplugged the power cord, threw that in the box. I have no use for that. So the next thing we'll do here is we'll see if we can get this guy out. It looks like there's a couple of screws, one on the left and then one on the right here. I don't know if it's going to be that simple, but we will try. But I also, you know what? I see one at the top here. That might be the better route to go. Let's see. Maybe. As it turns out, that was the way to go. For now, we'll set this off to the side. I'll put the camera overhead and we'll break that down. We can get the fan assembly off of it though. We don't need that. But we'll hang on to the fan, you never know. Something might require a fan that's like that. All right, so now let's go ahead and take this board out. These larger value caps here, I would bet anything they're all still perfectly fine. And although I don't use used caps very much in customer repairs, I use them in my stuff all the time. If there's an issue I have with something that needs a cap, I'll have no problem putting a good used cap in it, especially one this size. So we will definitely hang on to this board. Otherwise, all these diodes and stuff, could potentially use that. And it looks like there's another transistor there, like a B1274 transistor right there. That could come in handy at some point. And as for the transformer, I don't have a particular use for it, but we will take it out. Put that in the scrap bin. I don't keep one here, but we do keep one at my work. So I'll just put it there. The fuses I will take. It's probably about, what, 50 volts? That large cap, I think it's 50, 55 or 60 volts. So Again, don't have a use for it, but that's okay. All right, we'll start over here and we'll just take out various circuit boards from the front of the unit. I will save these switches just in case. Have something that might need one of them. These are the round variety. There's some pretty small LEDs associated with it. I suppose I could automate the situation and speed the process up a little bit here. Should be it. Well, we probably got some knobs in the way here, including the broken volume knob that we'll have to get the nut off of. So let's do that. And one more screw. Aside from the ribbon cables, can't really see anything here I'd want to hang on to. If you needed the fluorescent display tube though, if you had one of these stereos that this is already shot in, it'd be useful I suppose, but otherwise nothing here I really have any interest in keeping, so this one will go to the recycle bin. Now we've made it to the boards in the front here, which have apparently more screws than the main board has. We'll definitely hang on to this infinite control just in case ran into something that might need it. But we're just going to downsize that board a little bit. All these plastic buttons. And these switches definitely could come in handy at some point. I think I saved the smaller version of this, so probably what we'll do here is just hang on to this. There's a couple more infinite controls on that board. This is definitely not a bad idea to hang on to that. The volume control is broken, so there's nothing we can do with it. And then we make it to the tape deck. Let's see here. It looks like 4 screws holding it in from the back here. Or maybe 6. There's a couple of hidden ones here. Should be one more. Okay, there is a tape in that side. Let me see if I can force the door open now that I can see what's going on. I'm just going to rotate the cam gear over. And we have a CD slide case high bias tape in there. We'll definitely hang on to that. Feels like there's one more screw. It looks like it's right here. Two more. Very dirty cassette mechanism. Very dirty. You can tell by how that head is bent right there. I don't know if I can get you in here to see this. This head is bent like somebody tried to force the door open, but the whole assembly was just snapped out of place. So let's go ahead and take this board apart. This is a board we'll probably want to hang on to. Definitely want to hang on to this. Some Dolby pieces in there and some bias coil there. Yeah, so we'll definitely want to hang on to this. And there's your dual mechanism. One motor between the two tape decks. So got to the point where they were basically just thinning it down to the absolute least amount of components they could. There's your belts, nice deep indentions in those. Been sitting there for a long time. And there's your motor. I don't work on dual cassette decks like this. I'll keep the motor, but doubtful it'll ever get used here. And look at that, that's not even, look how thin that is. It's not even really a full-size motor, and it doesn't feel that great either. Maybe that'll go right to the garbage. As for this, well, you know, I mean, no. Garbage. All right, let me clean this up. I'll put the camera overhead and we're gonna break the CD down and get to the thing I got this for, which was the optical assembly, or the optical block. Should have a feeder motor, spindle motor, and optical pickup assembly all together in one piece, and maybe we can just extract that easily enough. It looks thick though, like there's a few things to get to before I can get what I want out of it. But yeah, give me a second to clean this up, and then we'll pick back up and finish up. All right, getting you back in here the following day since the last clip was made, and a day when unfortunately I don't have a ton of time, so I went ahead last night and just kind of broke all this down. That way we can just kind of take a look at it, what all was involved in doing this. Of course, if we were repairing it, then we do a little bit more detailed video of how it comes apart. And it's not easy to get this apart. Luckily, back in the day when I had my shop, I never had to take one of those mechanisms apart to do anything. There is 2 belts in it, and I could not imagine having to do that, and doing it especially under warranty when you're only getting paid a flat fee to do it. But the whole idea was this piece right here. This is kind of what we wanted to see and wanted to get out, which is an Optima 6 optical pickup assembly. And of course this optical pickup, whether it be the feeder motor, the spindle motor, or the optical pickup assembly, would be used in a JVC standalone CD player, not just this thing. So this is what's valuable. In the event you would need that, that laser, then this is definitely worth the cost of the stereo and the time it took to take it apart to get it out. So we'll take a look at some other things here. These leaf switches, also something that is known to go bad in certain JVC products from back in the day. Of course, there's 1 on each, or 2 on each tray for indicating the position of the tray. These were a big common failure in a JVC boombox from back then. Changed a lot of those. Also harvested a couple of really good loading motors that will come in handy. Even the pulleys are useful in case you need a pulley for something. A few gears here I might hang on to. This board is also useful. There's a couple of good motor loading ICs on this. I wouldn't use any of these caps on this board. I bet all of these caps are probably low in value. These are the sub-miniature types that they use on these boards. But these ICs definitely something I probably want to hang on to. And I've also changed one of these surface mount ICs. I've used a used piece like this before. They use this for the spindle motor and for the feeder motor. The way this mechanism is set up, there's 2 main gears in it and 2 rotary encoder switches that let the microprocessor know what position this thing is in at all times. And again, I couldn't imagine this switch getting dirty and me needing to have to take the whole thing apart to get this switch out and clean it and or replace it. This thing is full of a ton of plastic, all kinds of obstacles in your way to get even the simplest thing done. The 2 motors were buried down in here, and if you needed to change those 2 belts, you'd be taking the whole thing apart in order to do that. So this CD player was nice enough to basically volunteer to give up its life, so we might use the parts for something that's a little bit more valuable than it is. So I think that was a good $2 purchase, I think is what I paid for the whole stereo, something like that, $275. So as always, I want to thank you guys very much. Appreciate you checking out the video this time, as well as all the videos on the channel. And Merry Christmas to all of you, as Christmas has passed us now and just a couple of days out from New Year's, or a few days out from 2026. So as always, I want to thank you for checking out this video as well as all the videos on the channel. And on our way out here, we'll check out a little bit more Killer Dwarfs. This one is from an album, I think in the 2000s is when this one was made. Yeah, it was made in 2013. So let's check out a little bit of Lonely Road on our way out. And as always, again, thanks very much. Appreciate it.